The high-stress, high-cost, high-risk nature of filmmaking means that there are always going to be accidents on set, and that there are always going to be those litigious cockroaches scuttling out of the woodwork looking for their piece of the pie. I mean, who can forget the woman who sued the producers of Drive for quote-unquote mismarketing it as a Fast and Furious type action film? Imagine being annoyed at Drive. Often lawsuits are filed off the back of specific scenes though. These can range from the reasonable to the questionable to the flat-out frivolous and ridiculous. From understandable requests for compensation after horrifying accidents to blatantly outlandish attempts to fleece a production for some fast cash. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 movie scenes that led to massive lawsuits. Number 10. Frat boy racists get outed. Borat. It's not terribly surprising that Sacha Baron Cohen's outrageous satirical mockumentary resulted in a number of lawsuits, with numerous quote-unquote participants alleging that they were misled about the nature of filming. But the legal case that took the cake stemmed from the infamous sequence where Borat hangs out with a trio of boozed-up frat boys who end up making racist remarks. Two of the University of South Carolina students featured sued the producers citing defamation, that the film had impacted their ability to secure jobs, and that they were fed alcohol while under the belief that the footage would never be shown in the US. The two participants were seeking to be cut out of the DVD's release, though the suit was ultimately dismissed in February 2007. Number 9. A motorcycle stunt gone wrong. Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. While filming a scene for the sixth and supposedly final Resident Evil film, in which protagonist Alice rides her motorcycle across the post-apocalyptic zombie wasteland, stuntwoman Olivia Jackson received life-threatening injuries when her bike collided with a camera crane which had been lowered too early. Jackson was left in a medically induced coma for 2 weeks, while the extent of her injuries included a, quote, degloved face, crushed facial bones, a severed neck artery, broken ribs, torn fingers, nerve damage in her spinal cord, and the eventual amputation of her thumb and paralyzed left arm. Jackson inevitably filed a suit against the producers, including director Paul W.S. Anderson, citing that the production, quote, elevated financial considerations over safety, end quote. She further claims that she was asked to do the stunt last minute with minimal prep in poor weather, and was misinformed post-injury by the producers how extensively her medical coverage would support her treatments. Jackson is seeking unspecified damages, and while the lawsuit is still ongoing, the extent of Jackson's career-ending injuries makes it likely that the mammoth franchise, which boasts $1.23 billion at the box office, will be making a substantial payout. Number 8. Bryan Singer's questionable gas chamber shower. Apt Pupil. Bryan Singer's 1998 psychological thriller Apt Pupil features a sequence where 16-year-old high school student Todd Bowden imagines his showering classmates as Jewish prisoners in the gas chamber at a concentration camp. Wait, hang on, what the hell is this film about again? 2 weeks after the scene was filmed in California's Elliott Middle School, a 14-year-old extra filed a lawsuit claiming he was told to strip naked for the scene and refused to do so. Later, 2 other boys aged 16 and 17 made similar claims, one complying with the request and the other not. All 3 boys claimed the experience traumatized them and filed for damages against the filmmakers on the grounds of emotional distress, negligence, and invasion of privacy. Despite considerable press coverage though, no charges were pressed due to the insufficient evidence, and Singer ended up reshooting the scene with adult actors to ensure the film was completed on schedule. In the 2+ decades since the film's release, however, numerous additional unrelated suits have been filed against Singer, citing sexual abuse. As of yet, Singer has never been convicted of a crime, though it's looking increasingly likely that his career as a major Hollywood filmmaker is effectively over. Number 7. John McClane's Black & Decker, or lack thereof, Die Hard 2: Die Harder. Alright, on to something a bit more lighthearted now. The lawsuit that befell the producers of Die Hard 2: Die Harder is an especially interesting case, because it stems not from a scene in the movie, but one that was filmed yet ultimately cut from the theatrical release. With the sequel's budget skyrocketing to $70 million, 2.5 times the original's modest $28 million, Fox sought relief by deferring to product placement, striking a deal with hardware tycoons Black & Decker to include their new Univolt drill in a scene for $20,000. On an unrelated note, if anyone from Black & Decker is watching this and wants to get in touch, that would be totally fine. Please, I have student loans to pay off. Anyway, pardon that breakdown, the scene in question was to see John McClane use the drill to unscrew a duct at the airport, while Black & Decker mounted a Die Hard-centric promotional campaign, only to learn 3 days before the film's release that the scene had been cut. The company sued for $150,000 in damages, citing a quote loss of credibility, despite never actually paying the production the stated $20,000 in the first place. Still, Fox eventually settled out of court, though curiously, the Univault never showed up in any of Die Hard 2's released deleted scenes either. Number 6. Joey jerks it without permission. Couples retreat. You'd be forgiven for forgetting that 2009's critically panned rom-com Couples Retreat even exists. Yet a scene in which Jon Favreau's Joey masturbates using a pamphlet featuring former model Irina Krupnik resulted in legal action against the film. Krupnik filed a $10 million misappropriation of likeness invasion of privacy suit, claiming that while she signed a release on the picture a decade prior, for which she was paid $1,500, she never agreed to the quote, quasi-pornographic context in which the image was used. Hilariously, the suit went into needlessly specific detail about the scene, fixating on Favreau's weight in the misplaced interest of context. The judge threw the suit out and she received diddly squat for her efforts. Number 5. Microwave defamation drama, American Hustle. Movie lawsuits don't get much weirder or more unexpected than this. In addition to receiving 10 Oscar nominations, David O. Russell's American Hustle was slapped with a lawsuit due to a scene in which Rosalind Rosenfeld tells her husband Irving that she read an article by Paul Brodeur claiming that microwaves, or as she calls them, science ovens, remove the nutrition from food. Brodeur, a former science writer for The New Yorker, has published books on the apparent dangers of microwave radiation, yet sued the film's production for misappropriating Rosalind's claim to him because he never once suggested that microwaves reduce the nutrition of food. Brodeur sued for $1 million in libel damages, alleging that the false claim in the movie had tainted his reputation. Ironically, though, Brodeur more likely invoked the Streisand effect by drawing greater attention to a fleeting name drop that your average viewer wouldn't even remember otherwise. The suit was ultimately dismissed, with the court deciding that audiences wouldn't take Jennifer Lawrence's unreliable character seriously, while Brodeur himself had never held a firm written position on the nutritional aspect of microwave food. Personally, I think microwave bacon is, delicious. Number 4. The Killer's familiar mask, Happy Death Day. Earlier this year, Universal was sued on the grounds that the Happy Death Day horror movies supposedly stole the distinctive design for the Killer's mask, based on the mascot of the movie's fictional high school from the New Orleans Pelicans' mascot, King Cake Baby. The creator of the mascot, Jonathan Berticelli, sued Universal, citing that they used the likeness without permission, seeking not only half of the existing profits from both current films, but 50% of all future proceeds as well. The lawsuit is still ongoing, though opinion is sharply divided in the court of social media. Some see the resemblance as uncanny, while others believe the cherub-like design isn't inherently original enough to warrant legal action. Let me know what you think down in the comments, because to me, it's pretty striking, isn't it? Number 3. Jerry Heller's defaming and copyright infringing depiction, Straight Outta Compton. It was only inevitable that a film as incendiary as NWA biopic Straight Outta Compton would receive its fair share of legal interest from the parties depicted, but none more so than the group's former manager, Jerry Heller. Heller filed a 12-claim $110 million suit against the filmmakers, not only citing a defaming misrepresentation of his character, but that material had been lifted from his autobiography without permission. Heller believed the film painted him as a, quote, sleazy manager who took advantage, though the defamation aspect of the suit was largely tossed out in mid-2016. Even though Heller died of a heart attack later that summer, which his lawyers claim were provoked by the stress of his depiction in the film, Heller's estate continued with the copyright infringement aspect of the suit. Late last year, though, a judge dismissed it on the grounds that Heller's estate failed to establish his partial authorship of the film's screenplay. Number 2. STU'S Tattoo, The Hangover Part 2. The Hangover Part 2 has received several lawsuits over the past few years, including an injured stuntman settling out of court and Louis Vuitton unsuccessfully suing for the inclusion of a fake handbag in one scene, but none proved more bizarre than the legal kerfuffle over a tattoo. There's a hilarious scene in the final film where Stu wakes up with Mike Tyson's distinctive tattoo plastered across the side of his face, prompting the tattoo artist who originally created the ink for Tyson, S. Victor Whitmill, to sue the production. Whitmill claimed that the design was copyrighted, and that Warner Brothers never sought permission to use it, while the studio fired back that a tattoo, as residing permanently on a human's face, could not be subject to conventional copyright law. Whitmill's outlandish request to prevent the film's release was rejected, while Warner Brothers made provisions to digitally alter Stu's tattoo if the lawsuit ended unfavorably for them. In the end, Warner Brothers settled with Whitmill for an undisclosed sum. And as silly as the suit might sound on paper, Whitmill had a point considering how extensively Stu's inked-up face was featured in the movie's trailers and posters, and that the comedic context was in large part authored by Whitmill's design. Number 1. A prologue gone wrong leaves an actress's face scarred. Ghostland. 2018 indie horror film Ghostland was hit with a lawsuit following an on-set accident while shooting the movie's prologue sequence. 19-year-old actress Taylor Hickson, who played a young version of the character Vera, had her face disfigured while filming a scene where her character was banging on a glass window. After being instructed to pound harder on the glass by director Pascal Laugier, it shattered and she fell through the window pane, resulting in Hickson being rushed to hospital and receiving 70 stitches, leaving her with permanent facial scarring. Hickson sued the production in March 2018, citing lost work due to her injuries and claiming that the production company, unfortunately named Incident Productions, didn't take basic steps to create a safe set by using neither safety glass nor stunt doubles. To further worsen the film's already negative wave of PR, its insensitive marketing campaign featured the protagonist with a stylized, fractured face. The lawsuit is still ongoing, though given that this seems like an incredibly clear-cut case of negligence, one can't imagine a judge ruling in the production's favor. So that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are there any major movie lawsuits that I missed off this list here? And while you're down there, could you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.